coffee.
Yep,
But
it's good stuff. I pretty much exclusively go iced coffee at this point, but like what is the I don't know, it's like the Groundworks, the what is the word I'm looking for? Not compote.
Jordan would know. Jordan likes that fancy shit.
It's not even fancy. It's just like when it's the blend where you put like half water, half coffee in just to dilute it. It comes like really, really, really concentrated.
What? Oh,
What are we doing here? Jordan's
you,
first show?
you didn't even hit me with the mics are hot.
Oh, am
Yeah.
I hosting? What's going on?
So
Am
am
I
I
host?
on? Like, am I on screen now? All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Strategy Show, Lineup Builder Edition. We like to do this show. It's fun. And it gives us a first look at all of the projections and ownership as we dig into week 9. 12-game slate. Only 2 teams on a bye this week. No London games, no international games. So that means that you've got the 12-game slate. And then we start to get a little bit smaller. Look, we're nearing that time where we're going to have some weird, like, Thanksgiving slates. You're going to start getting those Saturday games. This is where it gets fun. You know what else is fun? We love doing shows with Greg Ehrenberg, but the first NFL show I've done this year with Eric Link was maybe the first show we've done together in a while. Filling in for Greg. It just hit 7 a.m. there on the West Coast. So I appreciate your dedication. What's good, brother? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah, we used to do a Thursday show last year, and yeah, it's been a hot second. We maybe did an NBA show or something sometime, or an MLB show at some point this summer, but we're always chatting, always hanging out. It's nice to do it on screen for the people.
It's an NBA slate, a big one, but football goes on. Not to mention the prize pools for football. It's not like they're getting small. They're still massive week over week. And I'm excited to talk about it. Ben and I do the first look show every Tuesday. And for the last couple of weeks, it's kind of crazy. You're just like a lot of times you go, all right, this is where all the value is going to be. Like you have a pretty good idea. This is another one where, like, look at the top tier quarterbacks, studs up there, several of them in great spots. Look at some of the running backs up there as well, some great spots, wide receivers too. Now we'll get into some mid-range stuff for sure, but man, even at tight end, like the matchups for the top tier guys look good. We'll jump into it, but it's kind of devoid of good value right now. So I'm interested to see what lineup building looks like.
Yeah, we had last week. I thought the 3K range looked awesome. Cedric Tillman became a guy you absolutely had to have. I said on the live before lock, I felt like there was going to be some type of value. I don't know what ends up happening with Adam Thielen. That's going to be a big deal. I think at 4,700, New Orleans, Carolina, just the shootout that we're all looking forward to in some capacity with Deontay Johnson gone, with Bryce Young out there slinging it potentially instead of Andy Dalton again. There's some lack of value though. I think that's the perfect way of saying it. It's devoid of value at the moment, and that kind of makes it concentrated in like this 6K range. It looks like at running back at the moment with Pollard. I think at wide receiver, there's so much upside. Dallas, Atlanta looks awesome. The Cincinnati wide receivers, pending what happens with T. Higgins this week, considering it's Vegas on the other side this time around, as opposed to Philly. Like lots of very, very intriguing spots. But for a 12 game slate, too, I mean, we have Buffalo. I mean, is that Buffalo Miami game by far the highest total that we have? Is there anything north of 50 right now?
Is that still sitting around 52?
Yeah, 49 and a half. It's gotten bet down.
Oh, okay. No, there was a 52. Hold on.
Is that Detroit
Unless
Green
unless that's
Bay?
the one. No, Cowboys Falcons
There
52.
you go. Okay, that makes sense. I
Big
just
time total
updated.
there.
Yeah,
Uh,
I updated half of my sheet so far this morning and hadn't arrived on Dallas Atlanta yet, but that's obviously a gold mine when you look at both sides and the passing rate for both teams
big
and the
time.
inability that Dallas has to run the football and Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier still existing and should be able to do whatever they want against Dallas. Like this is a great slate.
And Dallas needs this game. Like if
Big
they
time.
win this game, they're actually right back in the thick of it. Like it's as much doom and gloom as it's been for the Dallas Cowboys. You win this game, you're back to 4-4. And and then you kind of, now I'm not saying that this is a good football team. I still think they can score points though. And against a team like the Falcons that allows the highest completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks, the most receptions to opposing receivers, obviously they keep them in front of them, but CeeDee Lamb could get peppered in a spot like this. I mean, you look at the PPR value, he had 14 points on receptions alone. So let's dive into it. Eric, it's your first time doing this show, so I'll tell you how it goes. It's very simple. For those of you who have been here before, you understand how it works. And guys, by the way, in chat, happy to have all of you with us. Appreciate you hanging out every Wednesday for this show. We're going into the single lineup sim, which gives us instant feedback, sims our lineup against the of course, the simulated field. And we build it from there. But we're not just doing some boring, like, all right, let's play this guy, let's play this guy. We want to talk a little bit of strategy here, some game theory, get into the matchups, break all of it down, see what works, see what doesn't work. And in the end, see what we come up with. So we'll build one, maybe two for DraftKings, depending on the time. We'll build one for FanDuel and see how it goes. But it's early in the week, and you know this. Projections get sharper, ownership gets, refined over the course of the week. Quite frankly, our projections team gets the projections and everything out for us on Wednesday morning. So we have something for you guys, so we can provide something going into the week. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't be up till like Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is where you're going to see practice reports start to come out and matter. Starting on Wednesday, Tuesday, a lot of veterans will be sitting out of practice no matter what. Wednesday, now we'll start keeping tabs on guys like T. Higgins, guys that are potentially on the fringe or that missed last week. And what ends up happening, I mean, Adam Thielen, I bring him up again purely because he practiced in a limited capacity and ended up not getting activated to the main roster. But Carolina, Xavier Legette is somebody that got a pretty nice target share as the lone guy out there without Deontay Johnson to some extent. And now, well, Adam Thielen could potentially put a little bit of a wrench in that. New Orleans gets Derek Carr back presumptively, but again, that's an oblique that he's had for a couple of weeks and been out. Stuff like that that's just going to exist here on a Wednesday, Thursday practice report that you and I can't quantify, can't really talk about. But at the same time, we have a pretty good run of projections here at the moment. I like what I got in my first run of sims. I like what I'm looking at here, even at the tight end position, where there's some interesting guys to be spending up on this week, if you can afford it. But yeah, some of the value that exists later on in the week, we won't exactly be able to quantify. We'll try for sure.
Yeah, but this still gives us a decent baseline. That's all
for sure.
Like you said, Cedric Tillman, when Ben and I were doing the Tuesday strategy show, we still didn't even know who was going to start for Cleveland at quarterback. So, it's like, hey, Tillman could look really good. We don't know, but that's the great thing about this. We'll figure it out. And I think we have a pretty decent idea. There actually aren't that many injuries right now, unless somebody gets hurt, like, in practice. We'll wait. Einsteinium said Jordan Love's trending towards playing. Yeah. If he does, I like Green Bay at 3.5-point home dogs, by the way. But we'll see.
I like Malik Willis. I mean, Malik Willis has been awesome. I don't know if you saw this random stat that came across, but the guy who's leading in terms of yards per catch on the season from the quarterback position, 9.2, Malik Willis. Also the guy who's leading in terms of rushing yards per carry at the quarterback position. Malik Willis could be like a fantasy dynamo against Detroit. They still don't have a pass rush. Even if they go get a guy like Max Crosby today or tomorrow, I doubt he'll be operational by Sunday in like a full snap capacity. So if they find that pass rusher that they're looking for, like, I don't know, I kind of hope it's Malik Willis.
Oh man, if they just went out and acquired Max Crosby, that'd be crazy. But
that's the rumor.
I'm not playing Malik Willis, but we can talk about it.
Okay.
We can talk about it. All right, let's go. So we'll go DraftKings first. And I think both of you and I do kind of do the same thing. Like we like to run the sims, and I use it to see like, okay, are we getting a ton of 2 tight ends this week? Like last week we got a ton because Cade Otton was the best value by a mile among anybody. And then you were just getting a bunch of others. But where do you want to start? I'll let you, since this is your first time doing this show, start wherever you would like. What we want to do is we'll get an idea of a stack first. It doesn't have to be even a double or a triple. It could be a single, but we'll go quarterback and work it from there.
All right. I'm nervous about ownership at quarterback because we saw Bo Nix kind of get like diminished as the week went on. Ended up sub 10% in a lot of stuff. He ended up being in the Millie Maker winning lineup that was here, Stokastic Avatar. It was just
Sarcastic
fantastic
stuff.
stuff. I love to see that. I mean, that was really, really cool. And it sounds like Ben called that from the rafters during the deeper dive, which is super cool as well.
Yeah.
But I think Bo Nix could end up just getting artificial ownership going up against Baltimore. And I know Baltimore's allowed the most receiving yards of any football team, period, this season. But that's just because teams are in come from behind mode against Baltimore all the time. This is still a team that, despite what we saw last week, I mean, they kind of had their backs against the wall in kind of a weird spot. Derrick Henry couldn't really get the ball moving in the same way. Is Denver's defense good? Yes. I think that they're pretty darn good. They're not above 500 because of their offense necessarily. Bo Nix, short A-dot guy, but I have to write off every team coming off of playing Carolina. Like, I think that's just something that we have to do at the quarterback position because it means absolutely nothing. We saw how many teams, how many quarterbacks just go up against them, smash, and then the next week they're complete dust. So if we're going to see Bo Nix be the highest owned quarterback right now at 11.2% or something near it, I have to get away from it. I see Daniel Jones against Washington, the second highest owned. I have to get away from something like that. But now I want to talk about
Well,
Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence.
Hold on.
Okay.
I could not have less interest in Bo Nix this week.
Me either. And that's what I'm saying. It is insane.
No, I'm with you. And I like
Yeah.
Bo. I've said before the season started, I think Bo Nix is going to be a good quarterback. I do. I actually like this kid.
Yeah, he's
Especially
accurate as hell.
Get some more weapons, and he runs really well. I mean, he's really mobile.
How about that lift over the goal line too? That he jumped to get over that to get that ball across.
And I love what Vic Fangio has done with this. Not Vic Fangio. I'm sorry. What the hell is? I always met Vance Joseph.
John Payton.
No, Vance Joseph.
With
the defense.
Yeah.
I love what he's done with the defense. I mean, he's taken a bunch of guys that no one's ever heard of and developed them into legitimate defense. Like the D-line, the pass rush was expected to be terrible. Outside of Patrick Surtain, this was being described as a full-out rebuild season for the defense, and now they're great. That said, I think Lamar, I could be way off. I think they trashed them this week. I really do. Even if Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins aren't back, I think Baltimore, after that loss last week to Jameis, I think they come in and take care of business. So give me the guy that you want to start with.
Okay. There are two that you can pick. I'm going to give you a choice between two stacks to go to. The first one is the potential of like a skinny or a really cheap stack, pending how injury news breaks out, with Trevor Lawrence against your Philadelphia Eagles, or Kirk Cousins, where there are so many ways that game against Dallas just goes completely berserk. You can stack him up with Bijan Robinson. I have no problem adding him to a team that, 4 touchdown potential there. They should be able to move the ball. Every team is being able to move the ball against Dallas on the ground. I think both of those two are kind of my starting points. If you wanted to get way off the board, we could, again, I like Malik Willis. We don't have to have that one, but Jaden Daniels against the Giants, I think, is pretty interesting if we're going to spend up. But I kind of like starting with either Trevor Lawrence in the mid-range, kind of giving ourselves a little bit of a salary way to work things around. Evan Ingram could end up being the stone cold nuts at tight end if you get everybody out. Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr. from Jacksonville. Or we could go to that just shootout potential 52.5 and go a little chalkier with Cousins.
I prefer Cousins here.
Okay.
I know we're getting some large. I have some reservations about that spot. I mean, he's just so bad under pressure. I like Ingram for all of the reasons you pointed out, but I have some concerns about how he's going to function in this spot without Kirk, potentially without Brian Thomas. They might not even have Gabe Davis in this game. And I know you alluded to that.
They just traded a tackle to the Vikings, their left tackle. So he's gone because Darrisau's out for the year for us, which, by the way, I'm still not over. The fact that we were going to run out the clock and we chose to just do a inside handoff to our Aaron Jones that we need to put in bubble wrap. And we're just running a play to get out of the 2 when you can definitely take a knee at the 1. I'm still never going to be over that.
Yeah. And you lost.
Thank you.
Well, I'm saying it's like they lost. Anyway, And now you got to go against Flacco this week. Oh man, that's no wait.
We
It is
run
you going
so
against Flacco,
bad.
right?
We
Right.
run so bad. We had to play Nakua and Cup
That's a
first
good
game
point.
back the same
That's a
week,
good
and
point.
now we're playing the actual good quarterback from
Yep.
Indy. Are you
That's a
kidding me?
Yo, Richardson stinks,
He is
man.
so bad,
He
like by
stinks.
far. There's a lot of like really cool modeling about how bad Anthony Richardson's been in terms of EPA. I mean, it is catastrophic how bad
It's,
he is throwing the football.
and you know what? It's entirely possible that like one day he does figure it out. A lot of people compare him to Josh Allen, but Josh Allen's also a very rare case of that working out when you've been that bad early on. Anyway, let's get into it. Yeah, somebody had mentioned that the Raiders aren't trading Max Crosby. Right. And Mark Davis said they aren't. Also, remember, that means absolutely nothing. Ever. Nothing.
Yep.
Mark Davis doesn't matter if it's Jeffrey Lurie, Mark Davis, any of them. They're all full of shit.
Yep.
So he might not, but he also might. And then they go, but he said he wasn't trading him. And you go, yeah, well, how often does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to mention to you. We're gonna throw Kirk Cousins in there, by the way, Jordan, and started off with London. You know, Mooney's actually, I liked Mooney a lot last week, given the very specific matchup that he had against Tampa with Jamel Dean out. Somebody like Diggs gets beat over the top a lot, and that could be an issue. So I'm fine with Mooney or London, but I think at their price points, we'd probably start with London, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Drake London, 6,700 is a broken tag.
Yep.
It's just wrong. You get the Dallas secondary that has not been imposing in any way, shape, or form this season. I do think another week in the books to potentially see some improvement on the defensive side, just getting some pieces back for Dallas here. And then I believe they have the bye like directly after that, after this week, correct? Is that
Who does?
Dallas? Don't they have the bye after this week?
Oh, I thought they had a buy already.
Did
Silly
they already
me.
have a bye?
Maybe
Oh
not.
yeah, they already did have their bye. Good call.
Last week, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
week 7, week 7. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
week
before
7.
they lost to San Francisco there, but I'm going through this and Drake London at 6,700. You know, for me, one of my favorite things is just basically saying where should that tag fall in this specific matchup. This is an 8K type matchup for Drake London where he's sitting at 6,700. He's eternally underpriced. And part of that is Darnell Mooney has come along and ate up a little bit of this target share. What, 14 targets now the last 2 weeks out of the gate. Kirk Cousins, though, is throwing it so much. And Kyle Pitts is opening up the field and getting some big plays, which is not something that anybody was expecting here. The last 4 weeks, Kyle Pitts has just kind of gone nuclear and started to do the things we were expecting all year long, or 2 years ago for sure. But I look at that double, Cousins, London, Pitts, or Cousins, London, Bijan Robinson. Again, if there's going to be 4 touchdowns in this game, I have no problem adding him into the party as well. 7,400. I'd say that's probably underpriced considering the matchup as well, no?
Sure. Yeah, it's a very good spot. The Cowboys just cede so much yardage that you could go anywhere here. So what, you think you want to try that? Do you want to go with the Cousins, Bijan, Drake London?
I do. It feels like a spot where it's going to be harder for us to get Lamb in there. We have what, 4,140 left per. You're going to be really thin, whatever that RB2 is. We're going to have to really punt to tight end or find value that might not be there right now. And maybe that's where we go like Fergie Ferg, where Jake Ferguson hasn't gone completely nuclear yet in the absence of Brandon Cooks, but it's coming. Jalen Tolbert's been very serviceable as a number 2. Nothing crazy against San Francisco, but like Jake Ferguson as potentially our run back, or maybe just keeping it as Atlanta just smashes Dallas's face in, which wouldn't be surprising. Then you'd want to get Lamb probably in the party, just like we saw last week. They're down 2, and they're just chucking to him ad nauseum. You have the 2 safeties just playing deeper, and Dallas is just able to go up the sideline the entire way up the field. But Cousins, Bijan, London, I do not hate.
Let's try it. It's going to be expensive, but we can try and make it work. So I also surprised when I ran the Sims. I got no Philadelphia Eagles. I really thought in this spot against the terrible Jags team that I'd be getting quite a bit more of that. Was not the case though. We'll talk more about it on Friday though when we do the sim show, and of course some things will be updated by then. I'm going to throw a cheap defense in here just to see
Okay.
what we can open up. So give me Cardinals at whatever they are. Let's see. Cardinals defense.
2,600.
Yeah, that's cheap. That's
Yeah.
actually good deep play. They'll probably be. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's a good defensive play right there. At home against Chicago. 2,600 opens it up, gives us 5,400 per player. All right, so now I think it's probably a time where we try. Let's see if we can pull some value here before we go crazy with some more expensive guys. Because if we can get, a good value option, and for what it's worth, I don't think you're going to be finding that at the running back position. I think that's going to be at wide receiver in all likelihood. Like if you wanted to go back to Tillman at 4,300, I have no issues with that. If you wanted to get wild and go with like a $3,600 Jalen Coker, uh, it's not the guy's involved. He's involved. It's not pretty. If you want to go Tyler Boyd, Kendrick Bourne, those type of guys, Ray McLeod, you could honestly go Kirk +3 here. I wouldn't even care. $3,800 Ray McLeod is also another spot that I'm not opposed to. So I think there are options.
Yeah, let's get Kyle Pitts out of there and add Bijan Robinson, by the way, Jordan. So take out Kyle Pitts at the tight end position. I want to talk to you about Mike Gesicki because he basically was a glorified wide receiver, and Yeshivas has been sent to the shadow realm. If things work out where T. Higgins doesn't suit up again with this injury that just popped up on Friday, I think Gesicki ends up being kind of chalky, but against Vegas, 3,100, they've been pretty neutral against the tight end position, and they're just an abysmal football team. Cincinnati needs to, I mean, Joe Burrow said it himself, win like 7 of their last 9 coming down the stretch here to be making the playoffs, to get to that 10-win number. And Mike Gesicki, man, lined up in the slot a lot, 8 targets, 7 catches. It was come from behind mode against Philly, but that was still a lot of like early in the game target share for Mike Gesicki, who maybe just is the wide receiver too if you have T. Higgins out again. So like
it was come from behind, but no, like you said, he had to have had 5 receptions on their first 2 drives.
Yeah, he was the wide receiver too. He doesn't block. We know that. He basically is out there to just catch passes. And if he's going to be out there and the guy who's getting the targets over Yeshivas, there's really no reason to get away from him at 3,100 here against Vegas.
All right. So the only reason we're not throwing him in yet is because we have Higgins in. So it's just not going to sim well for us.
Got it. Let's get away from that then. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Because I agree with you. If Higgins is out, T. Higgins misses, which is a real possibility. I'm all for it. I just think for the sake of like who we have in and out right now, it's not gonna help us.
How does Jake Ferguson sound then?
Sure. Yeah. Get the run back. And for what it's worth, I don't even think we need to run back, but I do think Ferguson's a perfectly good play here.
Yeah.
But like we've seen the run back isn't even entirely necessary anymore.
Correct. I'd say majority of my lineups are non-run back at this point in time, but I think with a 52.5 total, if you're trying to get like all of the goodness from the game, or if you're going to play Bijan where you're really going for like that 4 or 5 touchdowns like you should be, I think Dallas is probably the best run back team, period, because terrible defense and absolutely no running game. Rico Dowdle probably back for this one, but like he's been terrible. Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook we saw last week, not something remotely considerate. Like I feel the most confident in saying that you should have Dallas run backs than probably any other team in the NFL, other than maybe the Giants.
For sure. They can't run the football. And Dalvin Cook stinks. I mean, what were they doing there?
All right. Abysmal.
We're not going to be able to get Lamb into this lineup, and I'm not even going to bother. But I'm going to throw Tyreek Hill is still criminally underpriced. So
why did they not just jam his price? He's 7,300 against Buffalo. I'm with you.
We're going Tyreek Hill here. I also think if you wanted to go to a cheap wide receiver, you can do it. I mean, Tyler Boyd's not exciting. Kendrick, a lot of these guys are not exciting, but if you wanted to go into that 3K range, there is somebody out there. If you play Hill, you have 4,800 remaining. We're going to need a cheap receiver since you went with a somewhat upper tier tight end.
Okay. I think there's 2 that are pretty interesting. The first one, just going to the Detroit Green Bay game. Khalif Raymond or Tim Patrick, either one of them. Tim Patrick had one target against Tennessee. They were up 52-14. They really didn't have to do absolutely anything. Khalif Raymond ended up having the touchdown there at 3,900, but I think Tim Patrick was somebody that in like more neutral game scripts, 3,500, that's something at least that I could consider in that range. And then the other one, I mean, if Cedric Tillman's the number one here for Cleveland at 4,300, he is still way underpriced. That's 21 targets. Obviously, the 9 targets last week matters more to me because it was Jameis Winston rather than DTR, followed by like half a quarter of Jameis Winston as the emergency quarterback. But I mean, Cedric Tillman 4,300 is going to be giga chalk, but like you got to think him or Elijah Moore are going to be just absolute smashes.
Yeah, Ben and I were talking about that yesterday, which led us to think we should really just not in this lineup specifically, like paying up for Judy probably makes a ton of sense in this week's spot.
Oh, yeah.
Like he still was on the field basically for every play. He was still targeted 8 times. Like Cedric Tillman had what, 9 targets? I think Elijah Moore led the team with 11. So, and then you had David Njoku getting, or 12 targets for Moore. David Njoku getting a lot too. Jameis spread the ball around a ton in that game. So Judy's interesting, but let's throw Tillman in there and see what happens because we're getting that. You're going to need that discount here.
41 passes for Jameis Winston last week. Chargers defense that I respect, but also I am not opposed to playing Jameis Winston at home in Cleveland. The guy is just a walking sideshow. The guy's insane. Jameis Winston can sling it. And the fact that he's been like repressed from DFS for the last 2 or 3 years because the Saints just refused to put him out there instead of Taysom Hill because Cleveland refused to put him out there, even though it was the obvious thing to do with how bad Deshaun Watson was. I mean, it just feels so good to have him back. It's very justified that he smashed last week. Jameis Winston doubles could end up being popular. The total is probably a little low for me to want to go crazy with that, but there's no doubt 41 pass attempts. If you get something remotely close to that, it was really consolidated between those 3, Judy, Moore, Tillman, Njoku even at the tight end position, although he's 5,500, probably not going to be paying up for that this week.
Yeah, probably not in this spot. I mean, Jameis, man, he should have been picked in that at the end of that game. But I'm still a little surprised that they're underdogs at home. Like if you upgrade anything from Watson, their offensive line is almost fully healthy. I don't know if Wills will be back, but everyone else is really healthy. The defense has some banged up players. Wosu, Denzel Ward, we don't know. Still a great defense at home. This team is, I don't know. I was a little bit surprised. I like the Chargers. I'm a Herbert fan. I'm a Harbaugh fan, but their offense is not very good. You know, you said the Panthers are a throwaway spot. I agree. So are the Saints right now with their defense. And that's who the Chargers faced last week. So throwing Tillman in there, now we have 5,100 remaining. See, this is tough. This is difficult. Like you can't really, can you play Kamara here? Can you play Chuba here?
Yeah, what I'm looking at right now is Chase Brown, 5,900 potentially for Cincy. Zach Moss was on the field a decent amount still, but Chase Brown goal line work, I would think going forward. Vegas as a favorite. I think we've kind of seen the exact opposite of what we were expecting coming into the season. Chase Brown has now had 5 consecutive games with double-digit carries, and I thought that was just going to be the Zach Moss workload. And, you know, it's 4 consecutive where Zach Moss has been held under 10 carries. It's not necessarily game script. Baltimore, that was a complete shootout, doubles that you needed everywhere. Giants, they were up pretty considerably. Cleveland up pretty considerably. We did have that fumble in a pretty opportune spot for the Giants, and they just went to Chase Brown the rest of that game. But I do think you're going to see Chase Brown continue to be the guy who gets most of this work. And against a Vegas team, I just want to throw this out there. I mean, maybe it's not Max Crosby, but I mean, Vegas could part with some guys here in the next day or two. Wouldn't shock me in any way, shape, or form. Chase Brown at 5,900 if we're trying to get different at running back. And then Pollard's the guy that we have absolutely as the stone cold nuts right now, who's like 35, 40% owned. 6,800 for him. we could potentially get away from Bijan, go to another punt running back. I don't love anything in the 5K range this week outside of Chase Brown at 5,900. Is there anything cheap at running back you'd even consider?
There isn't. I mean, Alexander Madison's not crazy because White's not getting any work anymore. Like Zamir White's basically done. I think he played one snap last game.
Unreal.
Madison's been inefficient, but he's getting a ton of opportunities. Here's what I would honestly rather do. I would rather go, like, as gross as this sounds, I'd rather swap out Chase Brown for Tony Pollard and then just play a dirt cheap receiver like Kendrick Bourne or something. I bet that will sim out much better than a Chase Brown plus a $4,300 guy.
How about Chase Brown with Trey Tucker? I mean, Trey Tucker.
Let's try both. Let's try both. If we Pollard with Bourne, Jordan, run that first, large field 25 to first, and then run. What did you want, Chase with Tucker?
Yeah, wanted to try both. Just curious.
Yeah, let's try both. So Pollard with Kendrick Bourne. And then we'll do Chase Brown. Like, my guess is that, I'll be honest, is the Pollard one sims out like exponentially better. Because of Pollard's projection.
But I always like to see that comparison. Those are the kind of things that are my favorite when you go into the single lineup sim. Like, it is important to know when you really tip the scales in one direction, why. And
sure,
if eating the chalk on a Tony Pollard play this week is the optimal way to go as of right now against New England, Tennessee at home. Mason Rudolph, the better quarterback between him and Will Levis. I don't think it's remotely close at the moment. Will Levis has a higher ceiling, but Mason Rudolph can be somewhat dependable. He had a great start to that Detroit game before they got buried. You don't want Mason Rudolph in come from behind mode, but you want Tony Pollard in you're ahead mode. And I think that that's really what the sim is telling us.
So only 34% on that, Jordan. Let's see. Maybe I'm wrong here. Go Chase Brown and Trey Tucker. By the way, while we run this, I made one tweak and I ran it on my side. I got rid of Ferguson and I put Pitts in there for a Cousins +3 with Bijan, London, and Pitts. Got it to 105, Simdog.
Yeah. See, that's fun. We like that. That's fun.
So that to me is pretty significant.
Why don't we show that to the people? Yeah, I'd love to see it sim out here too. I mean, I think that's important. No run back in that either.
Jordan, did you run the other one? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, much worse.
So
you called that.
I have a pretty good understanding from doing this show for 9 weeks too, like what's gonna come up nicely in the sims for the single lineup sim, right? Like, especially looking at early projections and ownership and stuff like that. But I do think Pollard with that projection, and you know what? It's kind of a justified projection this week. Even last week, I talked a lot of shit on Tony Pollard because he was getting such high ownership earlier in the week. And look, you certainly didn't need him. But even in a game where they lost by 38, by the way, sorry, I'm dealing with a little bit of a cold here. I'm fine, but it's, in the sinuses. So pardon the voice and the nasaliness. It's such a horrible sound. He still touched the ball 23 times and had 20 rushing attempts. So like now as a 3.5 point favorite coming off a 38-point loss, going up against the Patriots, it's really a tough guy to get away from this week with Tony Pollard.
Yeah, as long as Tajay Spears stays on the back burner.
Even if he doesn't, though, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm wondering, like, even if I don't think Tony Pollard is going to project this well, not even close. But even if Spears plays, does Tony Pollard still get like 20 touches against the Pats?
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Julius Chestnut is not very good. A preseason hero at times. Tajay Spears, though, he's got enough burst. But I mean, even before that, there were a lot of games. Week 2, 6 carries. Week 3, 2 carries. I mean, after week 1, people were like, oh, don't hit the panic button yet. If you didn't hit the panic button then, when were you going to? Because Tajay Spears is a distant second still to Tony Pollard. The main thing for me is that, like, Tony Pollard goes from like 80+% of snaps because they don't want Joey Chestnut back there. Yeah, I said Joey Chestnut, that Julius Chestnut.
Dude, I get that wrong literally every time.
whatever. They both play sports, right? Competitive sports. But Tajay Spears, uh, he'll cut into it somewhat more. And I think for me, that's at least the concerning part is that like Tajay Spears did get like a goal line work against Miami. It was a complete blowout in prime time. We all watched it, what week 4? But Tajay Spears is the much better back between him and Chestnut, and probably deserves being on the field at times to relieve Tony Pollard. Whereas like before, yeah, Tony Pollard bell cow has been in effect for a couple of weeks.
All right. Let's build another DraftKings, then we'll do a FanDuel here.
You start up the stack this time.
Sure. And I'm going to do one that we aren't super comfortable with, but that's okay because that's what's good. That's what's fun about this show. Also, Malcolm Towers, yo, Dave, explain to me the 3-month stack promo deal for Stokastic again. I took home 1K last night. Congrats, man. Finally got a bigger net return. Been a year since I got a 4-figure cash. I know it's kind of sad. It's not sad, man. Just be happy. Okay, so it's super simple. Jordan, do me a favor. Don't put the graphic up, put the site up because the graphic doesn't really do us justice. The deal we have right now is sign up with any of our sportsbook partners. Bet365, I always say Bet365 is it's like the golden goose because not only are you getting a month of everything that we have for any sport you want for core package, it's a $99 value, but also Bet365 has the $200 in bonus bets when you sign up, deposit 10, bet 5. And they have the crazy Thursday night promo where you get $10 in bonus bets for every touchdown scored. And they probably didn't think coming into the year that we'd be seeing 7 touchdowns a game on Thursday night football when usually it's like 3. I'm getting $70 in bonus bets every week on this promo. It's nuts. Anyway, sign up on any of them. Bet365, Caesars, BetMGM, FanDuel if you're not there yet, or if you're in non-legal betting states, any of those pick'em sites, right? Seriously, any of them. Sleeper, Underdog, Better. What are the other ones? Vivid Picked, any of them. Sign up. Follow the simple instructions up top. So here's what you do. The link is in the description. Jordan can throw the link in the chat if he didn't already. Choose one of those promos. All right. Click the claim offer because otherwise that doesn't count. You got to click the claim offer. Take a minute to get instantly verified. Deposit whatever the minimum is. It's usually like $5 or $10. Bet that on whatever you want. And the moment that bet settles, it could be a live bet. It does not matter. The moment that settles, take a screenshot of your settled bet and of your welcome email and simply email it to us at Stokastic. Support at Stokastic.com. Now, when you ask what the stack means, it means that if you sign up on one of them, you get a month of core Sims package for any sport you want. Like I said, $100 value. If you happen to sign up for 5 of them, it counts every single one of them towards a new month. So you're like, okay, I want 3 months I signed up at 6 of them and I spent $50 in total. But now I get 3 months of NFL and 3 months of NBA, carry me all the way through the rest of the year and into 2025. You can do that by following those 4 simple steps. Eric, it's quite simply the best thing we've ever done for people wanting to get in the door, check out the tools, maybe even win $1 million like our friend Rick did last week.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a lot of credit because you're the person solely responsible for making this a thing for everybody. You basically came on a call and said, everybody needs to be able to have access to the tools if they want to. And we tried to think about how we could go about doing that, what we should do. And you basically said, well, if people sign up at sportsbook stuff, there's like a small little bit in for us. But like for the most part, this is the easiest way, period, where for a low cost, especially at the pick'em sites. If you guys want to jump in at a pick'em site, if you're in California, if you're in a state where there's still not legalized betting, you have an opportunity to really get the Sims and everything else you need from a DFS perspective for a really low cost, $5, $10, $20. I mean, this is an unbelievable opportunity if you sign up there. And at any of the sports books, you should already know if you're betting every day or if you're betting even semi-frequently, you want to have the best odds every single time that you fire it up. So you are the one solely responsible for making this a thing for the people. So not only should they sign up and do it, they should be sending you a big thank you because the Sims, it's not cheap. It is not the easiest thing ever, but we don't want it to be because we don't want everybody to be able to have access to it just for the sake of having access to it. You get access to it as cheap as humanly possible by doing this with the link join as opposed to any other route that we have going other than our pop-up $1 deals, which is now officially over for the NBA, NFL. If you want to get everything, this is the best path.
Damn right, man. We'd love to see. Oh, you jump in the Discord, say hello too. Discord's included. And I should mention too that like we have the Millie promo as well. with our subscriber winning it. It's 30% off. That's down there. Any NFL DFS package, 30% off. But if you've still yet to sign up on those sports books, I'll be honest, that is the best offer. Unless you want like Sims Max, the 30% off is a huge deal. Anyway, that's auto-loaded in there. Promo code MIL, but it's auto-loaded. Just use the link. So million different ways to get access to all of our tools, and we'd love to have you guys. Say what's up in chat when you do. All right, I'm going to go with a Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors skinny stack here.
I love you so much. You saw the light over the course of this show. I mean, I'm obsessed with Malik Neighbors if he ends up being the quarterback this week.
Wait, no. Back up, my friend. Back up, my friend. Malik Neighbors.
God damn it. No, fuck.
No, I have not seen the light.
No. Okay. Well, here we go. Let's burn this at the altar of workload. Here we go.
Hey, if Daniel Jones gets ruled out and or doesn't practice today or tomorrow and trends in the wrong direction, and we update projections by Friday, we might start to see Malik Neighbors come up nicely in the projections. Right now, though, it wouldn't work anyway. Like, we'd have to go in and make all these manual adjustments. I understand the Daniel Jones ownership is up there right now. I'm also understanding of something else. Mobile quarterbacks don't actually have to be good to win you a tournament. I mentioned Daniel Jones in week 2 this year. Matter of fact, against Washington, right? I said, I'm stacking Daniel Jones. I don't care. I'm doing it with Malik Neighbors. You know, the Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors skinny stack won the Millie that week. We've seen last week, Rick, it didn't win it for me, but it won it for somebody. Last week, Rick played Bo Nix naked at $5,300. The guy's mobile, won the Millie. So it's gross. I get it. But we're going Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors here. Because if Malik Neighbors has another 16 targets and Daniel Jones runs for 50, 60 yards, no matter how bad he's been, it opens everything up. Check this out. If you wanted to go Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors, Cardinals defense, that gives us 5,800 per player remaining. We are sitting so pretty. You don't even need a big game. I stress this so often when we do these shows. It doesn't mean it's going to win, but you don't actually need a big game from Daniel Jones. If Neighbors has a great game and Daniel Jones finishes with 18 or 19, which won the Millie earlier this year, you don't need a 30 spot from Daniel Jones. It opens everything up. He's the cheapest he's going to be all year. That's what I'm starting with. Those three: Cardinals D, Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors. You're up.
All right. I didn't mean to poo-poo on that. I just heard Malik, and I came a little bit. I think that was that. Malik Willis.
Concerning, but I don't care.
It is what it is. It's 7:44 out here on the West Coast, and I was feeling frisky. But Daniel Jones, he was my highest owned quarterback week 5 against Seattle at 1% ownership. I had, a metric ton of him and didn't necessarily need it. That was the week 5 nuke that we got from Joe Burrow. I at least had a lot of Joe Burrow too, but that was my best week that I've had this entire week, or the best week I've had in my entire NFL season. But it came down to one thing for me, and that was, if you can get Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Malik Neighbors was out for that Seattle game. So you had Wan'Dale, Darius Slayton. I felt like there were so many fun ways to be utilizing him. Theo Johnson, who got a little bit of run at the end of that last game against Pittsburgh too. Doesn't look so good in the box score, but hey, come from behind mode, something that they're pretty accustomed to. Malik Neighbors is a stud. You're never going to be able to get away from, I'll always be behind Malik Neighbors as a guy to get to, but does Daniel Jones carry 25, 30 upside? I know the rushing quarterback element. I thought they were going to utilize that against Pittsburgh, especially with a pass rush where you get a couple of designed runs, especially if you don't love the quarterback that is out there. Why wouldn't Dable just have Daniel Jones be mobile, go do some things on the ground? And I got a little bit concerned because I thought it was a perfect spot to do it there last week. They didn't. Maybe here at MetLife, they go back to it. The Giants have scored one. Yeah, you heard me. 1 touchdown at MetLife this entire year. That is insane, Laffy.
Pretty bad. I will say, though, the Steelers have done a remarkable job all year of limiting mobile quarterbacks.
And I went back through that, too, because, again, this was one of my big stands. It was Bo Nix who was the only one, but they basically have played no mobile quarterbacks outside of it. Like, they played Joe Flacco
played Anthony
from Indy.
Richardson, didn't they?
No, they played Joe Flacco that week.
Was
Joe
it?
Flacco. Pretty positive. Let's see.
I don't believe it was.
Pittsburgh,
I'm
Steelers,
pretty sure it was Richardson,
Indianapolis,
or at least half and half.
Colts. Ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-ba. Let me find this. This is important. It was Joe Flacco. Yeah.
Well, really?
16 for 26, 168, two tutties. They ended up winning that one, Joe Flacco.
Okay. Well, Richardson definitely started that game.
Oh, did he get just dinged up immediately? Is that what happened?
Like
Okay. Player stats.
I have a pretty decent memory, and I'm almost certain.
Yep, he did start it. He got hurt immediately. 3 for 4, 71 yards. He got hurt in the first quarter.
Okay. That's what I thought.
And you do have a good memory, so especially in the NFL, you're tapped into these streets.
Yeah, I have to be. You have to remember. But again, look, Daniel Jones doesn't have to be great. So who do you want here? We have 5,800. Do you want to go wide receiver? I don't want to double stack this. I don't think that's actually necessary. Like Wandale's too expensive for a guy that catches 6 for 30 every week. Theo Johnson has potential, but he hasn't shown any of it yet.
All right. To the guy who pissed me off eternally because everybody projected him for 15, 18% ownership, and he came in at 3 last week. I'm going to get to not a bargain basement type, but somebody that I feel really, really good about, especially if we want to do like tiny correlation with another cheap Cleveland wide receiver. That is Ladd McConkey, 5,600. This is the go-to guy for Justin Herbert here. And at 5,600, he's pulling a lot of early ownership. And I repeat, it didn't come to fruition last week. Does it coming off of an absolute smash last week? If he ends up popular, like 18, 20% owned, yeah, I think that there's some viability to get away from it. But like, who else? Who else is he going to throw the football to? I mean, Sammy Fehoko? Like, what are we even doing here with this Chargers team? Hayden Hurst is still dinged up. He was inactive on Sunday. We'll see if that ends up being Will Dissly out there, who's been targeted 18 times the last 2 weeks. But the Chargers, I don't think they're going to have a ton of success running the football. I know that Cleveland's been, back half of the pack at like 126 rushing yards per game, but like, this is a Chargers team that I think you exclusively are able to shut down the run and just say, all right, who are you going to beat us with through the air? There was the one time that Ladd McConkey goes completely ballistic. It's against New Orleans, but like, I do think he's going to get peppered potentially as the number one going forward here. Joshua Palmer, probably one of the more disappointing best ball picks. He was like everybody's last guy in. Hasn't come to fruition whatsoever. I think Ladd McConkey might just be a number one who maybe is $1,000 underpriced.
All right, let's do it. I like the kid. I hope Quentin Johnston's not back though.
That would be bad.
And we had Jeffrey saying add Tyrone and with Neighbors, and I don't think Tyrone Taylor. I don't think he plays. So I just don't. I don't think he's going to play. So we'll see. If he does, then he does. But Tyrone Tracy, referring to obviously, I don't think in concussion protocol Monday night game, I would be very, very skeptical that he gets out there. My guess is he does not.
Yeah, it's going to be Devin Singletary, and I don't really like that spot even for Devin Singletary.
I think you're going to see more Eric Gray with how quickly Devin Singletary lost that job. Tracy's sick, by the way. I really like that kid.
I think in a flat 4K, maybe Eric Gray's somebody that we'll talk about come Sunday for 1-2% ownership, but
possibly
more than likely that's like a complete dart throw beyond dart throw in
and
the millie.
One-off too.
Yeah.
Like I don't want him with my Daniel Jones lineups.
Correct.
The reason I want Daniel Jones with Neighbors is the hope there is that you thread the needle where Jones can run a lot and Neighbors is like the 40% target share guy again. You know what I mean? We're trying to thread the needle here.
Yeah, there's not enough touchdown expectation for the Giants to comfortably, even at 4K, it's like, all right, he gets that goal line touchdown and you get the 4K and you feel good about yourself at 12 fantasy points. And then you realize, oh, that was 7 or 8 points I probably needed going Malik Neighbors' way at 7,500. And well, you're not going to project the Giants for more than 2 touchdowns in this game just about ever.
We had another, how do I pronounce your name? Is it eBay? Wazir? You tell me. Let me know in chat. Try and get that right. Said the Giants may have found Barkley's replacement with Tracy. Yeah, I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but he has been good. He's not Saquon Barkley, but he's been pretty good.
How you feeling about Saquon Barkley?
He's phenomenal, dude.
Should we put him in this lineup at 8,200? Is he a spend up we want to get to?
So I like him, but I'm going to say no for one reason.
Okay.
It's just going to hurt the rest of the lineup. And I think there's some really good options in the mid. Like, okay, let's try something. And then I'm going to have you put wide receiver, tight end. Try and base some of it off of our projections right now, though, because I don't want to. So I'm going to plug 2 running backs in. I want to go balanced. I want to try like a balanced lineup. I want to try Pollard with Chuba Hubbard. 2 6K guys.
This is a Chuba week for sure.
That Saints defense is terrible. If we go Pollard with Hubbard, we still have 53 remaining for the last 3 players. So if you want to try paying up for like a mid-range guy, I don't think we need to go all the way to the top personally. You could go anywhere in that mid-range, and I think it looks good, and we'd still be fine.
I want to click on Evan Ingram at tight end then, especially based on our projections. I'm obsessed with Evan Ingram this week. It's the Philly matchup. Look at all the injuries. I mean, this could look unbelievable for Evan Ingram come Sunday. There is Christian Kirk already ruled out. Brian Thomas is questionable. Gabe Davis, we saw him dinged up with that shoulder injury at the beginning of that game, questionable as well. We could be talking about punting with this Washington character that I don't even know. Tim Jones, that's a dude off the street. And then Joshua Cephas. I mean, this is actually potentially the most ridiculous wide receiver room that we've seen this year from any team in any individual game, which definitely says something when Cortland Sutton is like not even targeted and it's Lil Jordan Humphrey, no Marvin Mims on the field. And I have no idea what Denver's done at times with their rotation of guys, but like it's all Evan Ingram in this spot at 5,300.
Yeah. No, you're right. 50. Yeah, that's a great play. He's a great play. Even if Brian Thomas were to play, Evan Ingram still looked good in this spot. And I don't know if he will. All right. So you got that. We still have some space here. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I think. Let's see. McConkey Neighbors. I'm trying to see if there's anything we can do a little bit differently. So if we were to just let's think of a cheap pass catching option that we can throw in at wide receiver. Because then it might give us something really nice at the flex spot.
All right. Well, we talked about the Cleveland ones a lot, and we can get that mini correlation if you wanted to go more, if you wanted to go Tillman. I think that's fine. But you're looking for like somebody more off the board than that.
Not off the board, but like that in the 3K range.
We got to talk Houston. Or they're not on the main slate. I was going to say my boy Hutchie is going to be a conversation piece. God, it's so bleak down here at the moment.
Yeah, and I don't feel great about a Pollard Boyd lineup.
I mean, everybody got their Jalen Coker spot last week, and I don't really like it at this point in time. I mean, this could end up being the buy low of all buy low on Andre Yeshivas. He still got targeted 3 times, sub 4K, still the wide receiver 2. I do get worried about the Jasicki thing, but if T. Higgins is out, it's not going to sim well right now, so I'm probably going to get away from it, but want to at least throw it out there as something that's there. We talked about the Tim Patrick and the Detroit side of things if you're looking for an absolutely have to punt it spot, but
let's try it. Let's try a dirt cheap Tim Patrick. Gives us 7K remaining. So that puts us in the range of like Dobbins. I don't love Dobbins here in that spot.
How about Lil Jordan Humphrey?
What you mean as the cheap play?
Yeah, or like, I mean, Kendrick Bourne isn't really on the field enough right now. That sucks. That hasn't really come to fruition. Odell Beckham is dead. He's no longer on a football team, it would appear, because Miami surely doesn't put him on the field. Greg Dortch, Ray McLeod. I think McLeod's probably the chalk of the cheap range, but he's kind of fallen out of favor. And part of that is Kyle Pitts has just had these big plays across, the last couple of weeks that have taken down some of the yardage that would have just been a couple of targets here or there for Ray McLeod, because he's not going to get there on 60, 70 yards. He's done that once this entire year. He gets there by getting targeted 9 times for 6 catches or something like that. Yeah, I'd be looking probably maybe the Detroit side. Khalif Raymond 3,900 or Tim Patrick 3,500.
Okay. Kayshawn Booty too. 82% of snaps last week with Jalen Polk out. That guy's been a massive disappointment. But with Polk out, you saw Booty get 82% of snaps. I think we may just be off here, giving Bourne a higher projection than Kayshawn Booty.
I'm probably with you. Yeah, Kendrick Bourne is dead. He's no longer amongst us.
What if we went Kayshawn Booty and then it gives us 6,800? Like if we just tried that, who in the 6,800 range at flex could be anybody you want?
Oh
Would you
God,
want to?
Devonta Smith for sure. Like this is phenomenal for Devonta Smith.
I like him too.
It's once again, everything that Kellen Moore does with the slot turns into gold, and Devonta Smith is the slot guy for Philly. If we're going to see them put up a performance like they did against Cincy, I mean, the Jacksonville defense is so atrocious. We've seen Hunter Henry across the middle of the field go for a bazillion points, mainly out of the slot. Devonta Smith in the slot against Jacksonville, this is just a gold mine, and I kind of love that he didn't completely pop last week. I mean, he's hasn't exceeded 2021 fantasy points, but as like a mini correlation there too with Mr. Evan Ingram in a game where Evan Ingram should be chalk if everybody ends up from Jacksonville like I expect. Devonta Smith, he is awesome play.
I'm with you, man. I like him. We're not projecting him all that well, but this is a guy I would boost.
Look at that sim though. It's
Beautiful.
Still pretty decent. Yeah.
I simmed it on my end, got 116. Do we have the same? Let me make sure Jordan has the same team.
You went to Booty. Yep, he did everything correct.
Yeah.
Every time it sims, it's going to give it a little bit different, you would hope.
Oh, yep. For sure. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. That we had the same contest build. Yeah, we're good. I got 116. What would happen if you put Drake London over Devonta Smith?
Ooh.
By the way,
London is fantastic.
Yeah. By the way, I'm with you. The Devonta Smith, like I would boost him if we, especially if his ownership is low. I could definitely see myself boosting Devonta Smith this week.
I will definitely play a lot of Devonta Smith this week. There's nothing that's going to stop me from playing in large field, like just the absolute Eagles killers. Like I'm going to have Hurts, I'm going to have Barkley, I'm going to have Brown, I'm going to have Smith, and I kind of expect them all to get squeezed. We're going to have,
because they're expensive, really expensive.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I like Trevor Lawrence a lot. I think that this is going to be a spot where we get Evan Ingram as like an alpha, and we're going to get something cheap to work with. I find it unlikely that Brian Thomas ends up playing. Chest contusion for a young player. I guess Jacksonville is kind of like rebounded in a pretty pronounced way their season. But losing to Green Bay last week maybe puts a complete halt on it. Trevor Lawrence has been better than what I think people have said about him. You can talk about what you want to under pressure. He still had around a 94 QBR here on the season, 11 tutties, 4 interceptions. There hasn't really been any semblance of a passing game. Travis Etienne's been dust. Tank Bigsby's been revelatory the last couple of weeks when given an opportunity. Not this Ernest Johnson fellow, but I kind of like that game more than what I think the field is going to when we come to the flip.
Sure. No problem with it at all. By the way, with Drake London, 167. So that clearly looks good as well. But like I said, we're projecting London a lot higher than Smith right now. All right, before we get out of here, let's build a quick FanDuel lineup.
Love.
For the people. By the way, shout out to all you guys who hit that thumbs up. We got 300 watching with us on a Wednesday. Okay. If you haven't done so, take a single second, atone for your sins this morning. Tap that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. We love to read and respond to all of those. Jeremy said no need to boost though for Devonta Smith, Lavi. There will be, honestly, though. Like if I don't think it's going to stay like this, but if you were to run the Sims right now, I'm telling you, you will not get a lot of Devonta Smith, if any. So, I mean, would you not think you'd have to give him a bit of a manual boost there, Eric, right? With the way everybody's projected right now? Because I have hardly any of them, if any of them. I don't think I have any of them right now.
Yeah, no, it's one of those. I try to explain this in NBA from time to time because I went into an office hours right when we started up with The Sims, and I wanted to have somebody who had been simming for a lot longer than I had. For me, I've tried to do some stuff on the betting side. I think it's a little bit easier because you're kind of picking specific guys out. You're not necessarily looking at the entire portfolio of a game like you do for NFL or NBA. But I saw the Colts, our guy Steve Buzzard behind the scenes, kind of explain where it's like, yeah, I wanted to get to a little bit of this guy, or I wanted to get to a little bit of that guy, because you think about range of outcomes, and there are mega ceilings that exist. And especially if you have a small piece like Evan Ingram in that lineup, and I want to get to Devonta Smith, there's nothing that says that Devonta Smith is just a bad play and up next to Drake London. Like, if you were to just say straight up, who has the better game between the two any given week, it's going to be like 55% Drake London, 45% Devonta Smith, if you just told me from a projection standpoint. But I think both of their ceilings look pretty darn similar, like 25, 30. I think Drake London has the higher ceiling between the two. I think he's proven that this season. You have less that's there in Atlanta. Yeah, Bijan Robinson, but Darnell Mooney's coming along for the ride. You have A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley in Philly. So I think from a pure ceiling perspective, maybe a little bit lower, but like there are so many times that you have a game that shoots out a little bit or something just tips the scales a little bit in your direction. And that's where the Sim Boost, if you're just trying to get to a little bit, you don't have to just completely jam. I mean, it was kind of something you had to take with a grain of salt with Breece Hall last week too, where he has a serviceable backup in Braylon Allen behind him. We can all kind of see it there. You don't have to roll with just 90% unencumbered. You want to think about range of outcomes. You want to try to put the best portfolio set you can out there every single week. And I think one of the ways, if you have a lot of Evan Ingram, is to have a little bit more Devonta Smith just so that game stays somewhat intact.
All right. I like it.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, if Philly has a 28-point total, like if in the event that they do pop off, there's going to be some massive fantasy performances. It's just there's an opportunity cost on everybody there for Philly. Yeah. But I like them. What we should try do. I just have a feeling it won't sim well. I wanted to try building a Hurts lineup. Maybe we'll just wait till the Friday show to do that. But
Hurts naked.
What's that?
Hurts naked.
Yeah, right. It's actually not the craziest thing in the world.
No.
But let's try FanDuel. Have you looked over FanDuel yet? Because I haven't really looked much at FanDuel.
Yeah, so I've been playing more on FanDuel this season purely because they've had those overlay tournaments. They don't have it this week, and yet I reserved 150 in the 3, so I'm playing it. So that'll be fun. I'm going to play more over there yet again this week. I made 15 cents on FanDuel last week, so I'm feeling like a big baller. 460 something in, 460 something back. I love Jaden Daniels for FanDuel this week relative to DK. You get the rushing quarterback. You're also just trying to target touchdowns as much as you humanly possibly can here. And Jaden Daniels coming off of last week, absolutely absurd stuff. But 8 for 52, there were so many concerns on, is he going to be rushing with this rib injury? Is there going to be an issue? I think he solved that pretty quick on the first drive when he scampered for 20. And it was like, oh, okay, Jaden Daniels is fine. Like, Jaden Daniels is going to be just fine. You didn't see him do a ton from the pocket. Wasn't all that exceptional there. You had the obvious Noah Brown Hail Mary that makes the box score look a lot better than what it was. But I think against this Giants team that is just reeling, and if we're going to have Neighbors' interest, if we're going to have Daniel Jones' interest, I mean, this is obviously a game that Jaden Daniels, 7,500 on DK, I find him a lot less necessary, but with his rushing upside, 50, 60, 70 yards potentially scampering around against the Giants, I kind of like that at 8,700. Him, McLaurin, Neighbors, I think that's a fun way to do it on FanDuel. Or, I mean, Jaden Daniels, you could even just go, if you want to get contrarian with like a tight end, Zach Ertz, 5% ownership. You still probably want to be looking at Evan Ingram or David Njoku, but definitely like Jaden Daniels on FanDuel.
All right, let's do it. Are we stacking with Terry?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll stack with Terry. And you know what? For the sake of this show, let's just try throwing Neighbors in there as well.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
yeah. Should be easier to do than DK. The pricing's less restrictive, it looks like, on FanDuel. Just looking through my lineups, you get like a 6K Javonte Williams again against Baltimore. I think that there's no way I'd play him at 6,200 on DK, but 6K on FanDuel, Javonte Williams, That's a lot better if you ask me. I mean, Chuba's now sub 7K, walking into a much better spot. Alexander Madison is sub 6K. Wouldn't play him on DK, but I think on FanDuel also makes some sense. And then yeah, there's so much upside. We didn't bring up Devon Achane against Buffalo. I like him on DK. FanDuel probably not going to be a thing for us, but at least wanted to throw it out there that like we could see his ownership come up because there's no doubt Tua being back there. We're going to get Tyreek Hill conversation piece yet again on DK. On FanDuel, I think they did a serviceable job by bringing him up to 8,500 and making him much less gettable.
I like him a lot on DraftKings.
Oh yeah.
He's basically the second pass catcher in that offense behind Tyreek Hill right now. He really is. So yeah, let's go. Okay, so we have Jaden Daniels, McLaurin, Malik Neighbors. Let's throw Chuba in there. That's too cheap of a price point for Hubbard.
Agreed.
Is there a cheap defense we can just toss in here?
Oh yeah, there's defense looks a lot better on FanDuel. You get the Atlanta and Denver one. It's weird. We have I think too high of projections on them. I think that's going to stabilize. I think when we come to the flip, we're going to see Cincy pretty popular against Vegas. They're 4K. I kind of like playing the 4K defense when I'm building on FanDuel artificially because like if I need to go cheaper, you got the 3K range. If I need to go more expensive, it's the 5K range. So I think it was something that when I used to watch hand build stuff from Smizzle back in the day, he would always play like the 3K defense on DK. And so I've kind of done the same thing in the single lineup sim where I just start at 4K. And I think Cincy's ownership is going to come up against Vegas.
Okay. Works for me. So we have running back, wide receiver, tight end, and flex, 6,100 per. Where is the best value coming from on FanDuel? Oh, okay. I mean,
Aaron Jones.
Well, I was going to say we got to play Michael Pittman now that Joe Flacco is in.
Oh yeah.
We got to play Pittman here. Flacco just changes he changes everything about this team. The complexion of this team is dramatically changed with Flacco in there. He's not a risk taker, he's just more accurate.
Yeah, we don't get this game on DK. So I love it. Absolutely love it.
Absolutely. So throw Pittman in there. 6,300. So far, I like this build.
Me too. This is fun. This is better.
I mean, we could Pollard. You mentioned Javonte. I don't have a problem with Javonte there. I like Pollard a lot, though. I think 73 is still too low on him in this spot. If we play Pollard, do we still have enough wiggle room here?
Yeah, here's what we're gonna do, and this is probably a contrarian way to play Jaden Daniels. Let's go Zach Ertz, 5,300 at tight end.
Okay.
Okay. Again, this is more of a price play than it is anything else, but it just happens to be stacked up in a double with Jaden Daniels, which I don't think is the optimal way of doing it. If you wanted to remove Scary Terry, I'd actually be okay with it in this build if we went to Ertz. But yeah, 5,300. I'm looking at like the cheap tight ends. He's by far my favorite amongst sub 5,500. So gives us some kind of savings there.
Okay, so we have 5,200 remaining. Now, I could argue this. If we went from Cincinnati down to the Cardinals, that gives us 64 because the Cardinals are 3,800. And then you have Evan Ingram, Ladd McConkey, Chase Brown. It opens up a lot for us. So I think I'd rather do that and then us pick one of those guys.
Agreed. Let's do that. Cardinals 3,800. Thank you.
Do you want to go Ingram or do you want to go McConkey there?
Is it National Tight End Day again?
Not anymore.
Oh, well, then we can't do that. Let's go McConkey.
Let's go Ladd. All right. What do you think? Positive sim, negative sim?
Positive. It'll be, I don't know. Doubles with Jaden, expensive. He's not pulling a ton of ownership. We have a pretty low ownership sum. I mean, wide receivers just really spread out on FanDuel, so I don't know what to think.
I think it'll be positive, honestly.
Oh, it's smashing.
There it is. 98%. Yeah.
Not a single negative for me all day. Look at that.
I like it. Yeah. We've had good success with that. Hey, what a way to close out the show. Price Productions, $50 super chat. Love the content. Helped me out a lot over the years. Much appreciated. Thanks, man. Very much so. Thanks a lot. Nice little $50 super chat, Eric, to close out the show.
Beautiful stuff. Dude, he came on, dropped 100 spot on NBA yesterday. I mean,
Awesome.
what an absolute goat. We appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate all you guys hanging out. Follow Eric at Eric Lindquist over there on Twitter, me at Laffy_D. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for subscribing, hitting the thumbs up. All that goes a long way for us. Even just hanging out, watching the show, talking in chat, leaving comments, all that great stuff. And before you go, just remember, any of those sports books in that top link, sign up, follow those simple directions, and stack as many months of core NFL or NBA, whatever you want. Or if you're like, you know what, just give me the 30% off the essentials package, give me 30% off core, give me 30% off the Sims Max package. Well, that down there as well. Click that link on the Mill promo after we had a subscriber take down the Millie on Sunday. Get you 30% off any NFL package. So lots of ways to get involved. Make sure, of course, to say hello in the Discord as well. And aside from that, we appreciate you. Matt Riley, where does super chats go? Bonus to employees? Yeah, usually like to a lot of part-time guys and stuff like that. We make them worthwhile for a lot of guys that do a lot of work behind the scenes, for sure. So yeah,
Very
all
much
your
appreciated for them.
What's that?
I said it's very much appreciated every single time.
Yeah, and a lot of guys who you may not even know, but like do a lot of work to make life better for all of us on shows and on the site. That may be part-time or something, you know, that aren't getting like a massive salary or whatever. Those guys, put it this way, during Christmas time, even though you may not know them, but like it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? Because it's helping all of us. Those guys are very happy with this type of stuff. So awesome. Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys though. Have a great rest of the day and we'll see you back here for the next one. Peace. What are you laughing at, Jordan?